In 2018, US President Donald Trump was set to visit the Ain Marne American Cemetery. It's located in France. It's where hundreds of US Marines killed in the First World War are buried. Trump was supposed to go there, but in the end, the visit was called off. Why? Because it was raining. Believe it or not, Trump thought that the rain would affect his hair, which sounds very much like him. And in true Trump fashion, he took things further. He apparently said that the cemetery was filled with losers. Of course, the comment did not go down well. These were army veterans after all. Biden raised it many times since then, especially on the campaign trail. And now he's set to visit the same cemetery. The US President, Joe Biden this time, is currently in France. He arrived today morning in Paris. He was greeted by the French Prime Minister. He was given a guard of honor. It was the start of a grand affair. Now, the purpose of the visit is quite straightforward. It's to mark the D-Day anniversary. In 1944, Allied troops landed on the beaches of Normandy, and it was to free Europe from Nazi occupation. This was the largest military invasion by sea in history. So it is a special tribute, and Biden won't be there alone. He will be joined by French President Emmanuel Macron, of course, UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, German Chancellor Olaf Scholz, and others. It's a show of Western unity. And that's the agenda on paper. But in reality, there's a lot more at stake. There's a lot more on the agenda. Biden has two things to do. First is reassuring his allies, and two, the Russia-Ukraine war. So let's take them one by one. Biden came to power promising a return to traditional US foreign policy. He promised to defend democracy. He promised to strengthen alliances, and he's mostly done that. In the coming weeks, Biden has two more summits, the G7 summit in Italy and the NATO summit in Washington. So the US is very much back in traditional alliances. But the fear remains, because it's election season in America and Biden is not exactly in a good position. So American partners elsewhere have one question on their mind. What if Donald Trump comes back? What if he wins the presidential election? Will he pull out of the NATO? What happens to the American security commitments if he does? That's the big worry. And it will be conveyed to Biden during this visit. The other concern is the Ukraine war and where it's heading. On Friday, Zelensky will be in Paris. The Ukrainian president will meet Biden and Macron, and he will talk about Kiev's needs. The meeting will come at a critical time because Russia has opened a new front in the war. It is making gains every day. Meanwhile, Ukraine is barely managing. They lack manpower, they lack ammunition. So they've been pushing for Western help. And who better to talk about it than Joe Biden, given that Washington is footing most of Kiev's defense bill. And while Biden rallies European leaders against Russia, he will also face another dilemma. That's the Israel-Hamas war. This is Biden's first visit to Europe since this war broke out in Gaza. Initially, they were all supporting Israel, but now it's been 8 months. 36,000 Palestinians have been killed. So Israel's war is under intense scrutiny, and Europe is increasingly critical. Last week, Biden floated a peace plan. The G7 endorsed it, but Israel has only stepped up its offensive since then. And that puts the American leader in an awkward position. Plus, there are stark differences even within Europe. 4 nations, 4 European countries have already recognized the state of Palestine, so Biden has an uphill battle. He's in Europe to strengthen transatlantic ties, to shore up support for Ukraine, but it's not going to be easy for him. He may unite Europe for one war, but the other one will be a battle even for the US president.
Firstpost reports from the world's second largest continent. Hello, I'm Alison Lagrange. A very warm welcome from Durban, South Africa. We get you the news and the newsmakers from Africa. From elections to climate change to innovations and opportunities. As the world's attention shifts, we report from Africa, the heart of the global south. Join me every weekday live on Firstpost.